For 8 years, I paid student loans for a degree my grandmother had already paid for. I just didn't know it yet. I found out on a Tuesday in my parents' renovated lakefront kitchen, quartz counters, double ovens, the works, when I asked one more time what had actually happened to the college fund Grandma Ruth opened the week I was born. My father said what he always said: "The market ate it, sweetheart." Except this time, I'd already seen the statements. The market didn't eat my college fund, the kitchen did. And my grandmother, a woman who trusted everyone and verified everything, had left one letter on file at the brokerage that my parents never knew existed. But let me start from the beginning. I'll go by Nora. I'm 27, I work in a hospital lab, and I have carried two things since I was 22. $68,000 in student debt, and a sentence my grandmother used to say while she balanced her checkbook at the kitchen table. Money has a memory, Nora. People forget, money doesn't. I thought it was just one of her sayings. It turned out to be a prophecy. Hold on to it. Grandma Ruth was a retired postmaster who saved like it was a competitive sport. When I was born, she opened a custodial investment account in my name. One of those accounts where the money legally belongs to the child, and the adult in charge is only a caretaker. She put in birthday money, tax refunds, a little every month, for 15 years. She used to tell me about it. "Your school is handled, my girl." She died when I was 15. My parents became the caretakers of the account. And when I turned 18 and asked about college, my parents sat me down, did their best, sad faces, and told me the recession had wiped it out. So I signed the loan papers. Like you do when you're 18 and you trust your parents. For years, the story held, mostly because I never pushed. You don't audit your own parents, but small things kept not adding up. The wiped out years were the same years Dad bought his truck, the same years the Lakehouse, Grandma's old cottage, which they'd inherited, grew a deck, then a dock, then the kitchen that belongs in a magazine. The unraveling started with paperwork, because it always does on this channel. I was refinancing my student loans this spring, and the lender wanted a full financial history. Digging through the box of documents Mom had handed me when I moved out, I found a single ancient statement from the custodial account. One page, from when I was 9. Balance $52,000. When I was 9, and printed at the top an account number. So I did the thing my parents were counting on nobody ever doing. I called the brokerage, gave them my name, my social, and that account number, and said the magic words: "I am the beneficiary of this custodial account, and I'd like the historical statements." Here's what my parents never understood. That account was never theirs. Legally, a custodial account is the child's property from the day it's opened, which means the brokerage didn't need my parents' permission to talk to me. I was the owner. The lady on the phone was lovely. The archive she emailed me was not. I need you to picture me at my kitchen table, cross-referencing 11 years of statements against my own memory, like a lab tech running samples. The account hit $61,000 the year Grandma died. And then the withdrawals start. $9,000 the spring of the truck, $12,000 the summer of the deck, $22,000 in one pull, the March. I was 17. The kitchen. By my 18th birthday, the account held $840. The market had nothing to do with it. There wasn't a crash in that account. There was a renovation, and the withdrawals had memo lines. I want you to sit with the audacity of this the way I had to. My father wrote Nora school costs on the $22,000 withdrawal that paid for the kitchen. I was in 11th grade. My school costs that year were a graphing calculator. I drove to the Lakehouse that Tuesday with the statements in a folder. I asked the question one more time, gave Dad one more chance, and got the same line. The market ate it. So I laid the statements on the court's counter, and the counter itself, if we're being precise about what my college fund purchased. And I watched my parents read their own memo lines. Mom cried. Dad got angry, which is what he does instead of crying, and said the sentence that flipped my switch. That money was family money, and frankly, raising you cost more than that account ever held. There it is again, folks. Family money. Drink every time a villain on this channel says it. That was the moment I stopped being their daughter about this and started being Grandma Ruth's granddaughter about it. Because here's what family money actually means in the eyes of the law when it's sitting in a custodial account. And write this down because this protects real kids. A custodial account is an irrevocable gift to the child. The moment Grandma put $1 in, that dollar was mine. Not on my 18th birthday, but instantly. The adult in charge is called a fiduciary, which is a fancy word for allowed to touch it only for the child's benefit. A truck is not the child's benefit. A dock is not the child's benefit. And spending the child's money on yourself has a legal name: conversion. Plainer name: theft with paperwork. Raising you cost more than that doesn't work either. Parents are legally required to feed and house their kids with their own money. You don't get to bill your child's inheritance for her own childhood. Now, quick pause. And I genuinely want to know comments right now. At this point, do you sue your own parents? Sit with the question because I did for 2 weeks. And then the Brokerage archive gave me the answer in the form of the 2 documents my parents never knew existed. Document 1, an email chain, preserved in the account file, where my father asked the family financial advisor, or in writing, whether he could borrow against Nora's account for the cottage project. And the advisor replied, in writing, that this would be an improper use of custodial funds, dated 4 months before the $22,000 withdrawal. He asked. He was told no. He did it anyway. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a decision. Document 2 broke my heart and armed me at the same time. A letter of intent Grandma Ruth had filed with the brokerage when she opened the account. 1 paragraph, postmaster precise. These funds are for the education of my granddaughter, Nora. They are not to be used for any other purpose or person. Money has a memory. She'd written it one. I didn't file a lawsuit. I did something scarier. I hired a lawyer to write a letter that made the lawsuit unnecessary. 3 pages. The statute on custodial accounts. The 11 years of statements with the withdrawals highlighted. Dad's own email next to the advisor's improper, Grandma's letter of intent, and the arithmetic, principal taken, plus what it would have grown to if left invested, plus the 8 years of loan interest I'd paid on money I never should have needed to borrow. The number at the bottom was $109,000. And the letter noted, politely, that conversion by a fiduciary, with written proof he knew, is the kind of case lawyers take on contingency, and judges do not find charming. My parents' lawyer took one meeting to explain their position to them, which, based on the settlement that followed, I believe consisted of the words, "pay her." They didn't have cash. They had a Lakehouse. The cottage Grandma left them was sold that fall, and I want to be clear, I didn't demand that. The math did. From the proceeds, my loans were paid off in full. The remainder of Grandma's gift landed where she'd aimed it 27 years ago. And my parents downsized into a condo with, I'm told, a very ordinary kitchen. And one more thing came out of that brokerage archive. A tiny linked sub-account I'd never noticed, holding paper savings bonds Grandma had bought in my name over the years, and simply never mentioned to anyone, her backup, because postmasters believe in registered mail and redundancy. A few $1,000s, fully matured. I used part of it to frame the letter of intent. It hangs in my hallway, one paragraph, in her steady handwriting, and underneath it on a little brass plate, her sentence, "Money has a memory. People forget. Money doesn't." The rest of the bonds bought me a very good kitchen table, solid oak, the kind you balance a checkbook on. So tell me, could you have sent that letter to your own parents? Or would you have kept paying the loans to keep the peace? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because next time on the Karma Archive, a couple's in-laws gave them a wedding as a gift. Then, after the first big family argument, sent them an invoice for it. They forgot the toast was on video.